Folktales are typically based on the traditions and beliefs of people. Some categories of folktales you've probably already heard of are myths, legends, tall tales, fables, and fairy tales. Myths are stories that try to make sense of our world and how we should go about living within it. They are usually set in ancient times before history was even written or documented, and often answer questions about the natural events that occur in our world that might have been a way for the ancient peoples to explain their existence. However, these stories were made up and not really true. Myth comes from the Greek word mythos, which means word of mouth. Some myths include stories of gods, goddesses, and other super beings like the Viking god Thor. Others include mythical creatures like winged horses, unicorns, and other strange creatures. Legends are a little bit different than myths as they are based on real people and events, like the Trojan horse legend, where the Greeks built a giant wooden horse to enter the city of Troy while hiding legions of men inside to lead them to win the war. Though as stories are retold, events are sometimes altered or changed, so the legend becomes based on fact but isn't always considered the truth. A tall tale. The tall tale can be an exaggerated story, typically with one main character. Some characteristics of the main character can have superhuman qualities. The key ingredient to remember when telling a tall tale is to over-exaggerate everything. Fables are stories that usually tell or warn children of the good and bad things in the world. They typically teach a moral lesson at the end, like the ant and the grasshopper that teaches us to plan and prepare for the future, because if we don't, we won't be ready for the harder times ahead. Fairy tales are derived from Europe and typically have an element of royalty or nobility within the storytelling structure. Classic fairy tales like to follow a plot structure that leads with the prince rescuing the princess from some danger or evil. Later on in the year, we will analyze the anti-fairy tale and compare it against the classic plot structures. An urban legend is a modern form of folktale, or sometimes referred to as a campfire story. Your last task is to find out what structures are common in the urban legend. And are they structured in a way to warn people of impending dangers? What type of dangers do the characters encounter in an urban legend? And why are there so many different versions of similar stories?
Created using Powtoon.